I'm Donald Moffat.
And I'm Heather Menzies. Logan's Run will not be on tonight.
But stay tuned for the Charlie Brown special and the Fat Albert Halloween special.
And we'll be back next Monday night.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Hi, I'm Alex Ross.
The two pieces are sort of a type. They're both kind of recreations of artwork that existed in the 90s. In fact, this piece here for the Avengers is in most ways a recreation or a tribute to George Perez's poster version from the mid-90s, where he did a shot that featured in it a figure of Captain America that was very similar to what I've done here, positioning of the Vision or positioning of Hawkeye, and I believe a few other elements are very similar to that piece, and it's consciously so. I was building off that inspiration, but I kind of refitted my design to fill out bigger shots of the figures so that I was making a wider composition and getting in a lot of the same characters, but still not quite as many as what George himself did, because George's thing was always to try and get in the maximum amount of content into pieces that he did.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Man, it's been a while. Christian Gossett, welcome back to Word Balloon.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here. Great to be back.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you, man. I know you've been busy. You know, it's great that both the writer's strike and the actor's strike have been completed. Everybody can get back to work. I know you've been doing animation as well as some live action.
That's right.
So yeah, you know, I mean, tell me during the wilderness time, how was it, and were you able to continue to work? What was your status during the strikes?
I was very fortunate. I was on a show that by the union stipulation could continue, so that was fantastic. So I was working the whole time, and it was great. And we were completely legit. It was union approved. It was completely union approved, and that was great. And so didn't have a problem. But yeah, no, it is. I'm very happy that labor has to stand up for itself, right? I mean, this just this year we had Comics Broke Me. You know, we've had deaths in the industry from people just not being paid for what they should be getting paid. You know, working really hard and not getting enough to live on. And I know that's, you know, it's funny. It used to be just comic artists. Now it's everyone, right?
Right, man.
So it's tough, you know, it's really, really tough. And so it's, you know, labor has to stand up for itself, and they did. And I'm glad about that. And I really hope that the AI protections are as comprehensive as they need to be. It's coming. Text to video is coming. It's already here, you know. It's fascinating, the stuff that you see, and there's going to be a place for it, and it's going to grow and evolve and morph like the Borg and become a thing. And we're all gonna have to deal with it. And but you know, in the meantime, it's now's the time for all your listeners. If you guys have some ideas you want to do, get them out there now before the AI comes and takes everything.
You know, Chris, coming from broadcasting, one of my main jobs for the last 10 years was writing copy and producing commercials, and AI is generating commercial copy. I mean, it, you know, so I mean, I'm out of that
too.
What's that?
It's good copy.
Good enough.
All right.
Good enough for a lot of, especially the kind of mom and pop retail that I did in local radio and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I noticed that it didn't even occur to me. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, even another job that I did. I mean, I think it's weird when it comes to AI and broadcasting, because I know that a lot of music stations are doing, you know, kind of AI announcers. And I understand from a music standpoint, especially if you don't really have a personality disc jockey per se,
which I totally miss, by the way. I so miss personality disc. I miss real-time radio very much.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I was very fortunate to work in sports radio as long as I did, where it had to be. You had to have an opinion and stuff, and it can't just be the Amatron 1000's thoughts on the Cubs or the Bears or whatever.
Yeah.
So I hear you, but it's I mean, again, it's a different world, and I understand. The interesting thing is, though, that a lot of times what we miss about traditional media, the game moves to the internet, and I can say that based on word balloon and things like that, that people want this kind of conversation,
That's right.
audio or video and stuff. So that's good. I don't know. I mean, and again, I'm glad that you were able to find, and it's cool that there were independent productions that met the guidelines of both guilds that were on strike,
Just met the
writers and
guideline.
the actors, and then business can continue. I mean, that's a sports analogy. That was the problem with mixed martial arts with a lot of them when they first came on the scene, and it was only legal in places like Nevada and New Jersey. And finally, the league went to the governing bodies of each state and said, okay, we're too violent. What do you want us to do so that you'll license our sport?
Right.
And they came back and said, all right, here's a list. And it's like, fine, we'll make those changes.
Yeah.
Now look at MMA, UFC, and all that stuff. I mean, that's the thing. So you're right. I think labor does need to get to, in the case of, acting and writing and stuff, this is good. And again, I hope like you said, AI is inevitable, but you gotta find a way, especially when it starts with a human being, to compensate them fairly. I mean, that's so basic to even have to say that is ridiculous.
It really is. I mean, just, it's like the CEOs wouldn't want us scanning their contact lists of their financiers, right? They wouldn't want us. They wouldn't that. What value do they bring? That those contact lists. Hey, did you do play-by-play when you were doing sports radio?
I did for boxing several times.
Oh, great.
Yeah, boxing was my sweet spot. I mean, I even have to admit I was never more than a casual fan of the major sports. But I don't know. I grew up. My grandfather and father were passionate boxing fans.
Yeah, my dad loved boxing
in the Ali era. Yeah. So I mean, I'm a 5-year-old kid watching Ali Frazier and stuff like that. So no, I was hooked by the best decades.
That was great stuff. Have you seen Fighting Ali or Facing Ali? I can't remember the doc. Isn't that great?
Absolutely, man. And I've met a few of those opponents over the years.
Nice.
So yeah, there's nothing more dramatic than two guys really in their shorts beating the hell out of each other. I mean, I get everyone who's like, oh my God, that's terrible. And I totally understand. But again, if you grew up with it, it's like,
if you grew up with it. Yeah, no, totally.
Tyson Fury had his fight against the MMA heavyweight champ, and it was like Rocky. It was real. I mean, Nagano everyone's like, is this a farce? Like, how real is this going to be? He puts Fury down, and he stays competitive over 10 rounds. And it's like, this is exactly what happened in Rocky 1. Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, that is good stuff.
Hilarious, man. There you go. Oh, thanks, Don. Don says that I did boxing well. Don's a Chicago boxing buddy, but
I can totally hear you calling a fight. I can absolutely hear
it was fun. Oh no, it was fun, man. The few times, and I did play-by-play and color. So yeah, that was great. That's hilarious. Well, let's talk about what you've been working on, man, lately. Well, first of all, shame on me, because let's talk about what's coming up this Saturday, because you're part of Comic Book U.
Yes.
And that is a great event that the Hero Initiative is putting on, Jim McLaughlin, and it's Howard Chaykin, Mark Waid, and yourself. I didn't realize that you were part of this. I mean, so tell me about your involvement and what you do during this incredible, it's 7 hours, everybody, this coming Saturday at UCLA's Ackerman Hall.
Yep.
And so go from there, Chris. What do you have planned?
It's really great. So I am just a kind of pivot point guest star between the two big lectures. It's going to be all Chaykin at the top, and then it's going to be me and Mark, and then it's going to be Mark to finish the day after. And then there's a lunch in between, so everybody gets lunch with your entry. And I want to stress that if you haven't gotten tickets yet, you can walk in. That's a big one. We are totally taking walk-ins. Don't feel like you're going to get, just go to UCLA. If you're really interested, go and check it out. Just go that day. It's this Saturday. Starts at 10 a.m. Just head on up there. UCLA is a beautiful campus. If you decide you don't want to do it, you're in Westwood on the west side. So it's a beautiful part of the world. And just check out the vibes. Check out the scene. It's really going to be like intense comic book mastery, right? I mean, Howard Chaykin, he approaches it from such an inside, he approaches from the guts, right? Under the hood.
Yeah.
And then Mark and I are doing something. I've taught graphic novel creation for 10 years at Studio Arts. Studio Arts is this great school. It's a place for industry professionals to try other things. If you're a 3D modeler and you work in games or in movies and you want to try to write a story, there's writing classes you can take, and your studio will pay for it through the state. It's state funded. You usually, if you're a working professional in the industry, you don't have to pay.
Wow.
You can get your studio to sponsor you, and then the government will sponsor it as adult education. So it's a really cool school. Really glad to be a part of it. And one of the things I came up with in my class was I would basically have them. I would pass out a script of a famous writer, and then I would show my class and then I would lay it out. Right, because that's really such a crucial part of a page is deciding where the characters are in the panel, deciding how many panels, deciding how big the panels are. All these things, all these storytelling elements are just vital. It's the first time that word becomes picture, and there are endless possibilities. So, and I wanted to communicate that to my students. So for years, I'd take a famous writer, Mark included, and I'd say, okay, so I'd copy it, pass it out to my students, panel 1, and I would do it. And then at one point, I was going to, Mark and I were both going to attend Comic-Con Revolution in Ontario, and I said, I wonder if Mark would be willing to do this with me. So I emailed him, hey, Mark, asked him. He was great about it and said, yeah, let's do it. We had a great time. He brought a page. I'd never seen the page. It was totally, we did it improv right in front of all the packed house, of course, because it's Mark. And we had a great time. And we did it again at San Diego, had another great time. And we did it again at Big Lick Comic-Con out in DC. And now we're doing it again at this Saturday at UCLA as a fun kind of pivot point. Because, it's going to be intense with Howie, right? Howard Victor Chaykin is not going to leave anything. He's going to leave it all out there, right? He's going to be coming at you. It's going to be intense. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be the kind of stuff that really is priceless. I mean, it's priceless level of experience you're going to be getting from Howard. And then we're a kind of fun, like danger act trapeze thing, right? It's like, hey, so because I'm literally going to in real time lay out a page, and I'm going to show the audience what choices we make, what choices we don't make. Let's show them some things to watch out for. Some like rubber hits the road. These are things to avoid when you're laying out a page. These are things that you want to go for when you're laying out a page. Stuff like that. Fundamental stuff, because it's fascinating what you take it for granted when you're a comic book professional. You just take it for granted, and those of us that got lucky and had How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and
sure.
And Mark is so passionate. Both of them are so passionate about passing on this stuff they know and making sure that the form survives, because the comics are in such a fascinating place. American comics market is in such an interesting place. It's I just had a negotiation fail with a publisher that shall go unnamed. I was wanting to do, and what's so funny, John? I wanted to give them everything. I was like, you know what? I want to give you look, I'm 55. I don't want to self-publish. I don't want to lug boxes at a convention. I want a publisher. Take the rights. Take them. I just want to be paid well for the rights, paid well to do the book. And you guys, if it's a hit, it's a hit. It's all yours. But make sure you give me a nice upfront. That's it. Usually that's the other way. You're like, oh, I want a nice upfront, and then I want some of the rights. I'm like, no, take them all. Wow. And they couldn't do it. They had a it's a publisher that's really in a lot of trouble at the moment. And the contract was a really, really poor negotiation. And it got me thinking. I was like, wow, how difficult it is. There are a lot of great ideas out there. I can't be the only artist and writer that's having this really, really difficult time getting new stuff out there. When's the last time there was a new book at DC or Marvel, right? A completely new superhero, right? That wasn't based on, one or another, Yeah. So yeah, all these things are kind of boiling around. I shot some of you guys may have seen on Instagram or YouTube on the Hero Initiative YouTube channel. You may have seen the videos that I shot. I interviewed Mark and Howard, and it got them talking about what we're going to talk about on Saturday, the 18th at UCLA. And it's just going to be a really, really it's going to be priceless. When do you get Mark Waid and Howard Chaykin together at UCLA talking about this amazing career that they both had and passing it on to you for a very, very low price, right? It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's $150, everybody, which again, for a 7-hour course from two comic masters. And really, this is a great opportunity for people in the area to really go and learn from two of the best. I keep saying I had Mark on a few weeks ago, and I had Howard on a couple of times in the last few weeks. and I had the pleasure of watching them work together in a kind of hour-long version of what this 7-hour immersive course is. And having you there as well. I mean, and it sounds really interesting, your portion of it. So you guys, are you going to take a page of Mark's script and then just break it down live? Is that the plan?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify. There's going to be a big screen, and I'm going to have an iPad, and I'm going to have Procreate open. Procreate is more and more a really great go-to app for people that draw comics. The great Clayton Henry uses iPad almost, I think, exclusively, and a lot of others do as well. There's Clip Studio as well, which is a fantastic, robust program. But Procreate is really proving to be a fantastic, low-cost alternative if you have an iPad. So I have my iPad. It's plugged in to the screen, and Mark's got a page, and we are going to panel 1. And I'm like, okay, panel 1, here's the action. Everyone's going to be reading along. The page will be printed out for everyone, so they'll all be able to see it, and they will see this page come to life in the layout process. It's going to be really fun. And from this, from by the time we get to the last panel of that page, you will know so much more about making comics than you've ever known before.
Well, when I saw them do it, they took a page, I believe it was a Captain America comic, and it was this Cosmic Cube one-page scene. And as Howard, I talked to Howard yesterday on Comic Art Fans online show, and he was saying that, there's a language to learn that will give you shortcuts and explain what is important in each panel and stuff. But yeah, you'll see why each panel is necessary. There's no filler. You got to be tight with your storytelling. You've got a limited landscape of 20 to 29 pages, depending on the publisher and the book. And you got to convey this message very succinctly. So yeah, learn from guys like yourself. I think it's great.
It's really going to be amazing. And it's so fascinating. What is it about a comic that we enjoy versus one that we are bored by, right? What is that difference? It's so difficult to you read it and we enjoy it. We want to show you the difference. Like if you're bored by a comic, if it's not resonating with you, as it were, here's why. Here's a few reasons where that might be the case. And if it is resonating with you, all the things that you just said are true, right? The story is moving along. There's new information in almost every panel. The characters are trying to get something. It's all this fundamental storytelling. And that's another thing, Mark and Howard and I have all worked in other media. We've all worked in television. And so what we know translates to any entertainment medium. We love comics, so we love to do comics, but we also, it's having gone to those other rarefied air of the lots and worked in television and movies and games, it's the same stuff, right? So it's whether if you never want to write a comic, if you only want to write stories for games, if you want to write television or movies, this is another great thing because we break it down for you, right? What's the beats? What do you need them to see, and when do you need them to see it, right? It's a big one.
Understood. Isham obviously gives a shout out for Red Star. He says, I have to say, back in the day, Red Star was a must read whenever it came out, which is awesome. Might we see more Red Star?
In fact, there are some plans in the works regarding Red Star. Some really, really great plans. We've never done an art book. We've never done an art book of the Red Star. So
okay, yeah.
So we're talking about how to get that together. Most likely, it's going to be a crowdfund.
Sure.
And so that would be great because there's all these drawings. John, I'm nuts. So I didn't do the Red Star on most of the Red Star pages are not on standard comic book board. Most of the Red Star is drawn on this Duralar stuff. This really, really, it came in all different sizes, all different shapes. It was crazy to scan it in. And so it's, it would be great to show that, to let people know what the heck the Red Star really was under the hood. And I'm really looking forward to that. And there's something else I can't talk about, but it's really exciting from a high-end CG possibility, motion picture possibility. So,
oh wow, hey, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, when the Red Star first came out, in order to do the Red Star, Bendis said it in the forward for our graphic novel. He said the Red Star is too big for Hollywood, and at the time it really was. We were so big. It was just a big, crazy book. But now the technology has advanced so much, and you can do huge, huge stories for television as opposed to just a feature.
Oh, absolutely. Isn't that interesting, Chris, how the game has changed? I mean, I can appreciate the Scorseses and the Coppolas lamenting the current state of film. And I get that, but you really have to step back and go, yes, but television has become that much more intricate characterization, story,
Yeah.
and that the game has moved there, it seems. And I understand the frustration, but it's like, well, guys, I don't know how to break it to you, but I'm sure the introduction of sound in the 20s was just as disruptive to
It's
these wonderful silent masters.
It's true, man. Distribution, models of distribution are so fascinating, right? Like, what do people want? I love that short form has come back. You and I are similar age. We're old enough to
Yeah,
remember when we had short subjects before a movie, right? And that
absolutely.
was so fun. Pixar brought it back to an extent, but it was only with Pixar movies. Used to be
Right.
you'd always get a short subject or two at the movies, and that was fantastic. And now, thanks to YouTube and TikTok, short form has come back in a really, really wonderful ways. And so yeah, and it's an exciting time. And now that the strike is over, it's going to be really interesting to see what's possible. It's a fascinating time. And despite the fact that I've been in the business 30 years, Howard, God knows how long, Mark about the same, and on Saturday the 18th, we're going to be giving you guys all this really, really valuable stuff from all these years, whether it's, and listen, we're all also crazy, neurodivergent, neurodivergent artists, right? So there'll be Q&A, there'll be portfolio reviews. For those of you who are artists, you want to bring your portfolios, please do that. And again, a big thing we're stressing is new. Mark said it in the interview, which is on Instagram right now, in one of the clips. He said, new ideas, new genres, new characters, like new visions. It's possible to do it. Will Eisner just took it upon himself to do a Contract with God, right? He just took it upon himself. Just sat there and made, didn't have a publisher, didn't have a plan, just wanted to tell this story so bad, and changed the whole industry.
That's
So
true.
what have you got? We're like definitely putting it we're trying to give it as much power as possible to young people of today and say, we want to help you. We want to help spark your idea and get it out there. And yeah, you don't have to feel like you're behind some gate that's kept you. There's so many different ways to do it now. I walked away, like I said, it was a very, negotiation I was with, major publisher, or was a major publisher, walked away. Just like, I'm going to find another way to do it, whether it's Europe, whether it's manga, whether it's webtoon. I'm going to find another way to do it, because you got to be working with people that you want to work with. Red Star's success is because it was done with people who loved each other. Me and my little team, we were all friends from high school. We were all close pals, and that's why it worked. So that's going to be some of the things that we're stressing and letting people know what's possible.
That sounds great, man. Dave, another Red Star fan, just wanted to say he loves your work, man.
Thank you, Dave.
Now, don't you think, and it's interesting because you say for
Never
the
gets old.
athlete, I'm sorry, say it again.
It never gets old. Thanks,
There you
Dave.
go, man. Absolutely, man. No, this is great. I'm
Never
glad
gets old.
people are, coming and saying how much they loved Red Star. But it's great to hear that. I mean, listen, crowdfunding is tough, and it's a job unto itself.
Ugh.
And I believe me, man, I know. I've heard the stories, and I'm sitting on a word balloon book that eventually I'll finish and maybe crowdfund rather than go to a traditional publisher. But it's great that avenue is open. But as you say, it's interesting too that Webtoons has opened itself as a real platform and possibility.
Yeah.
So there are really things that are there now and really have just started to evolve in the last 10 years that weren't even there when we were all excited about webcomics in the year 2000, for example. And it's great. I think it is harder in some ways, but also, I mean, I've got buddies like my buddy Ryan Brown, who did Astronauts in Trouble, or no, God Hates Astronauts. Larry Young was Astronauts in Trouble. God Hates Astronauts, and has been approached by publishers, but he's like, I'm okay doing my thing, putting it out there. I've got my community that I've established through the web, and I'm okay. I thank you, but no, it's better for me to not have to answer to a publisher in any, not a gatekeeper way, but hey, why don't you do it this way or whatever? And it's like, well, they are footing the bill, so they should have a say in it.
Yeah, and like I said, I was ready, man. At this stage of my career, I'm like, please, someone come along. Please, someone take the rights. I'm fine. You talk to the 310 area code. You make sure the books get to the convention. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to make the book, and it's there's something great about having a publisher. So, but that is really funny. And that's another thing about the 18th is, as Mark said, if you're not artists and writers, yes, absolutely come. But, and this is what you were just saying, like new visions for editorial, new visions for publishing, right? There's new ways to get this stuff out there that has nothing to do with the old model. That was an ad-based model right? It was Stan was on Madison Avenue, right? Marvel was on Madison Avenue, right? They were selling ads for the funny glasses and the army men, right? They were selling ads, great stories. They sold a lot of ads, and but that was the model. And now the model is what do you think it might be? People that are passionate about this form of storytelling, we want to get to them and try to give them what we can in the 7 hours that we have with them, and we're really excited about the idea of editorial and publisher minded people, right? The operations types, those who know how to sign a check, those who know how to herd cats, right? Artists and writers are fantastic, but all of us need a context of some kind, and that context is often made by a more left-brain producerial editorial person. I've been really lucky. All my editors have been fantastic, starting with Barbara Kiesel and Dan Thorsland, Bob Cooper, Diana Schutz, and down the line. I've always had Chris Simon, of course, the great Kristen Simon. I've had great editors the entire time, and I've learned to appreciate how important that is. And it's funny, man, John, I'm telling you, having been through what I've been through this last year with this negotiation, which took a year, by the way,
Wow.
bore no fruit for a year, back and forth and back and forth. One of the things I learned was how editors might this is a question, I'll leave this to the viewers and yourself. I don't know this to be true. I kind of surmise it at this point. I'm like, dang, you know what? A thought occurred to me that the people who love comics most might be the editors, because they work so hard to get those books out. All the little details they deal with, all the artist excuses they deal with, all the writers' excuses they deal with.
Yeah.
Right. They got it coming from above, they got it coming from below, and they love the books. And and I've befriended editors. Jamie Rich is a friend of mine for a long time, and we worked together on Love Is Love, and trying to get to work together on another thing. Hopefully someday, but they love the stuff. They know the stuff. They love it. They know every genre. They know their favorite genre. So if there's anyone out there who's curious about the role of an editor, we'll have information on that as well.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's, man. And I'll tell you, especially now that so many creators are going the DIY route and everything, I'm always like, well, who's looking over your stuff? Who's helping you from an editorial capacity? And no,
Exactly.
your laundry list of editors, there's a lot of great people on that list. Absolutely. Will Dennis is another favorite of mine that's been such a great editor over the years.
Yeah.
I think is trusted enough that a lot of the old standbys that have gone their own way are tapping Will left Vertigo a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
Shelley Bond, my good friend, is another wonderful example. But yeah, you mentioned Diana and all the others that you mentioned. These are great people, man. It's cool.
They really are. And
I want to mention, and I'm so sorry to bring this bad news, but I know that Hero Initiative is involved with Comic Book University, the thing that's happening Saturday at UCLA and Ackerman Hall. But unfortunately, their East Coast coordinator, Kevin Brogan, passed away, which sucks. And it was unfortunately part of COVID that caused him to pass away. Nice guy. I met him at several shows on the East Coast, representing Hero and stuff. Really good guy. So sorry to hear that somebody from the Hero Initiative that worked really hard, isn't with us anymore.
Hero Initiative is such a great cause. I've been I've been all about it since Jim told me about it. I think it's fantastic what he has done and what he continues to do. And I can't say enough about Jim. And I can't say enough about the Hero Initiative.
Well, I know that's why you guys show up and you come up with things like this.
Yeah.
To generate money for the cause. But again, I think it really is a valuable skill lesson opportunity for a lot of people to take Comic Book University and everything.
Yeah, we're absolutely trying to help people. Let's say, for an example, let's say you're an artist, or let's say you're an artist first. You've loved a lot of comics. You love Watchmen. You've loved a lot of Top Cow stuff. You've loved some manga. You loved all these different forms. And what's yours? What's the one you're drawn to, right? What are you going to do with how are you going to divide up your page? How are you going to pace out your story? You've got all these different things, all these different influences coming at you, and you love them all. And you're like, how do I choose? Which one do I choose? We're going to tell you why you're drawn to those things and give you the fundamentals beneath all of them. Dave Gibbons with the 9 grid. Is a fascinating approach, when you've got a lot of story to tell, and you've got a writer who's handing you, in a voluminous amount of information to get into each panel. That 9 grid was brilliant. We've got manga, which like Demon Slayer, which is like all diagonals and thrusts and like sword play, right? So it's like, what do you do? What do you do? And we want to help give you some guidelines and some principles that you can pick and choose from, extract from, and make your own, right? Everything we're going to be teaching are tools that you can use. And the great thing about a tool is there's many different ways to use a hammer, right? You can use the side of the hammer, you can claw the hammer, lots of different ways to use tools. So, and
go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to give you a second to cough. But no, finish your thought, and then I'll because what you're talking about with paddle progression, Howard said some really smart stuff yesterday.
Yeah, no, Howard's as well. And if you're a writer, right? If you're a writer, what are those things? And let's say you're even an experienced writer. Let's say you've done some, really experienced. You haven't worked professionally, but you've got some specs. You've got some writing that you've done. You're writing all the time. You're wondering how you're going to go from someone who loves writing to someone who's being paid to write. We've been on that road. Each one of us has gone from people that love fiction to pro fiction. And so what is the difference as far as writing is concerned? Mark, there's no better source for that than Mark. It's going to be great.
It is so satisfying to see Mark at the top of his game with the output that he's been doing comic book wise lately. Yeah. And even that period when former management at DC wasn't great with them, he's like, fine. He went to Marvel. I keep telling him one of my favorite things he did was this Invisible Woman, Sue Storm miniseries. And it's like, this is why Sue Storm is vital and is not just the fourth member of the Fantastic Four. And it's the mere fact that it took that long, because I don't know of other times when Marvel has done a Sue Storm solo series, but it's never so goddamn good.
I know, it was, and that's Mark, right? He's gonna, and that's why we're like, hey, so what stories haven't been told, right? The perfect example, and that's why it's so great to come out this Saturday, because we are all people that like to do that. Howard likes to do stuff the way he does it. Red Star is like, who the heck else is going to take Soviet mythology and CG models and put it together and make it comic? Mark Waid, who else is going to take Sue Storm and feature her up front? It's funny. It reminded me, I love that series. It reminded me of the early days of Fantastic Four. I went back and read 63 during the pandemic, and it was so cool because she was getting heat back then. In 63, there were letters coming in. Why do you have Sue Storm? She's just a girl, and what good is it being invisible? And it was so great because they would, Reed and Ben and Johnny would defend her, it was so cool.
Yeah, it was Willie Lumpkin. I remember it was I think it was in the Treasury edition of the Fantastic Four that had the Galactus saga as well. But yeah, it was like, hey, Reed, we're getting all these letters about Sue, and you see Sue, and it's so 63. Sue's crying, but Reed's looking at the camera, is looking at the Reed and going, hey, Sue has saved our ass. I can't tell you how many times. Remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? And it was so great to see.
What I love about it is here's a creator. Here's some creators saying, pushing back, right? Yeah. Pushing back against that hate, pushing back against that static, as opposed to going, oh gosh, the writers don't like Sue. Let's get rid of Sue. What do we do about Sue? No, you tell them why Sue's there. You stand up for what you've done. Own it. It was awesome.
No, I hear you, man. And really what Mark's doing right now at DC, it's among his best work. And so, no, I get that. And same with Howard. Howard just wrapped up his Kickstarter campaign for, and I always forget the title, but it's a great Western men's adventure novel character that he's adapting into a graphic novel and stuff. And of course, Hey Kids comics. Oh my God.
Hey Kids is a brilliant.
Jesus Christ. No, I love that. Well, how about you, man? Let's talk about what you've been doing lately. I saw that, in fact, you pointed me to this. Is this the animated series or is this the live action?
This is the movie. And so the animated prequel that we worked on in 2020 was really, really cool. It was, the showrunner on that was Zack Snyder and as well as Jay Oliva. Jay Oliva is Zack Snyder's main man as far as his story art's concerned.
And I know Jay from his DC animation work.
That's right. Jay Oliva was just a fantastic dude, knows his stuff, man. Been doing it for 30 years plus, and is really, really great to work with and work for. And so yeah, we did a whole season of reels. I wish I could show you those reels because they're super cool. And I did animatics. Story art is an amazing. It's really, really fun because you get a script, but unlike storyboards, for those of you that don't know, Storyboards is verbatim, right? You get a script and you draw what the script says, and that's pretty much what you've got. Story art is this fantastic discipline and method that not a lot of people know about, which is fascinating because it was really, really heavily responsible for the success of the MCU. There was a lot of those movies where the story art was a major factor in making those beautiful, epic money shots that the MCU was known for, and even down to character moments. It's the story artists that did those movies: David Prince, Todd Harris, Phil Langone, Darren Denlinger, Federico D'Alessandro. These guys they're the first people in visualizing that script, and a lot of the time, script is being transcribed after the story art process. So they'll come up with ideas that then get written in. So there's a lot of amazing work being done by story artists in the industry today. And look it up. Animation. So that was one series I did, thanks to Jay at Netflix. I also did one. I was a revisionist on Arc, which a really popular MMORPG.
Oh, okay. Because I thought The Ark, the Sci-Fi Channel show. But tell me about this game that you worked on.
So Ark is this very popular game, dinosaur-based game. It's like people and dinosaurs, kind of Dinotopia kind of a thing. And we worked on that. So that's gonna made that really awesome, amazing voice talent. I mean, like Russell Crowe, Michelle Yeoh, all the O's are in this thing. And incredible voice talent. And so that as soon as that finds a streamer, it will be out. And the third one I worked on is really exciting. It was this really crazy Viking show, again animated. Netflix loves to do that, a grown-up animation, be it Castlevania or the Greek show. They love to do heavy grown-up animation. So this is that. This is a Viking show. This is Norse mythology, but it is definitely more before. It's not the Disney version of the Norse mythology.
No, and I'm so glad that finally English-speaking animation has reached that same level as anime has.
Yeah.
In terms of we adults, we like sophisticated animated stories. Yes,
we do. Yeah, we totally do. So those were great. That was all through the pandemic. I worked on those 3 series. After that, I worked on a really wonderful Disney Plus show. First season of that, unannounced. I can't wait for it to be announced. I think it's going to be. Okay. I mean, from what I've seen so far, it is amazing. And again, it's like Murderer's Row. It's an all-star team of people working on this show. The great Todd Harris, Craig Elliott. I mean, these are names that if you want to Google Craig Elliott production design, he's just a master. And he's been around since he's a Disney legend. He's been around since, I think it was at what was the movie in Atlantis? Atlantis,
right?
Yeah, he worked on Treasure Planet. He worked on.
Oh wow!
Oh my God! Here's one for my fellow 40K fans out there. Craig Elliott won a Golden Dragon. I think he was like 11 years old. Wow. Golden Demon. He won a Golden Demon at like 11. He showed me the painting. I was like, "That's what the hell?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I won a Golden Demon." I'm all, "You won a Golden Demon?" It's like, how many people out there do you know that won a Golden Demon? I was so happy. It's like a Gold Scout, right? Or not a Gold Scout, a Eagle Scout.
Okay. Is 40K? Is that Warhammer? When you say
yes, Warhammer 40K. So he's an amazing painter. I met him on another film I was working on with the great Ian McCaig. So that Disney Plus show, I really can't wait for it to be announced. It was incredible, great time. And it's a mini series, and I think it's going to be awesome. After that, I did story art again. Again, story art is so fun. We get a script, and we read the script and we interpret it. And the director guides us. Loves some stuff, doesn't love some other stuff. Wants some stuff massaged and adjusted, and then you adjust as necessary. It's where you go very fast, you go very rough, and then you clean it up. And you hand it over to the animators, and the animators take, your intention. But, it's fascinating because you really do, they're bringing so much. You're the first interpreter of you're taking words and making them into pictures. And I've found it to be really, really fun. I do miss comics. It's really funny because everybody in animation, I'm like, boy, this is so great. I got benefits. I got a weekly paycheck. This is like, animation is awesome. Comics is like, and everyone's like, yeah, but comics, and my friends have only worked in animation. They've never done a comic. And they were like, yeah, but you did comics. I'm all, hey, it's not everything is meant to, it's wrapped up to be. They're like, yeah, but your name is on the cover. I was like, that's the trade-off.
No, I get it. I can appreciate that from the animation standpoint, but also, as you say, no, it's the security of a regular job as far as media goes. Are there different, and I don't know if at what you do it is impacted by this, but is there a difference making animation for a streamer versus a cable channel, an over the air channel, whatever?
Yeah, for sure. Studio to studio, it's really varies. Jay he began as a story artist, so his
Yeah, we know.
studio
Yeah.
was like it was taking care of the story artists. You know what I mean? The story artists were taken care of. We had a lot of time. We had a good amount of time to work on stuff, and it was
Okay.
because we knew that the more time we took in pre, the smoother post would go, right?
Certainly.
And that's exactly why they, again, to go back to the MCU, a friend of mine was working on Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. And he showed me, he said, Disney was a massive, Douglas Fairbanks used storyboards back in the day, and Disney did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it goes all the way back to them. Like, this wonderful visual guide through the story to keep everybody on the same page. And even when you do deviate, even when you get thrown curveballs by production, you always know, everybody knows where to come back to. Everyone knows where the direction you were and all these wonderful advantages. So on Guardians of the Galaxy 1, he showed me, because I'm always a champion of pre, right? I'm from pre, I'm from storytelling. I love to plan. I love to get stuff ready beforehand so that there's, whatever surprises come, you're ready for them. And he was like, let me tell you something, man. At Guardians, dude, he's like, check this out. And he showed me a 3D model. It wasn't just storyboards. It was a 3D model of the set, of the sound stage, with C-stands, with lights, with cameras. So, because when you're paying those actors what you're paying them, when those are high paid people, everything needs to go smoothly. It's literally like a battle map, right? You're like, okay, here's the artillery, here's the cavalry, here's this. It was phenomenal. It's like, okay, storyboards is one thing, animatics is one thing, but the MCU took it to a whole new level, and that was phenomenal to see. And for a long time, it was very, very. Very, $30 billion and counting. I mean, I know Marvel's was having a rough time. I enjoyed Marvel's. I saw it over the weekend.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I try to just shut out all the preconceived notions.
Certainly.
And just watch it as a Marvel movie. And yeah, it's not the greatest Marvel movie, but it really deserves a shot. I would recommend going to see it for sure.
My feeling is, as far as the reception to a lot of this stuff, the first 10 years from Iron Man to Endgame, nobody knew what to expect.
Right.
And so they had that kind of benefit,
definitely,
of audience unaware
of
what to expect.
True.
And now it feels like they're kind of taking the same incremental steps to get to the big story. And it's like, all right, we already played that. We've already been on the carnival ride. We'd like it to go a little faster, please, or whatever. I don't know.
It's very true. That's a really great point. It was this, and listen, it's as someone who, my pop was a professional actor his whole life.
Oh,
and so I met Charlton Heston when I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
So I love the history of Hollywood, and let me tell you, nobody, as we all know, that run that Marvel had, it's amazing. Even Marvel's included. This run is ridiculous, right?
It's the 33rd movie of this.
33 movies, right? I mean, my goodness, like it's insane. There was a time when Westerns were big and then Westerns went away. There was a time when sandals and swords, biblical epics came and went.
Yep.
Musicals come and go, vampires come and go. And this Marvel run has been really, really just unprecedented and phenomenal. We'll see how much longer it goes, but really at this point, it's all gravy. It's like no one can take anything away from what they did.
Oh no, and also, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned these other genres, because I think the superhero movie is here to stay. We might get less, and
right.
That's fine. But thankfully they did it right in a way that DC and for previous iterations of Marvel attempts didn't, and now at least we've got a decent map, and it just needs refinement every now and then. That's all.
Exactly.
So no, I'm with you. I'm curious about a couple of the other previous works that you've done, and especially this one, Mark Altman's show Pandora.
Yes, Mark Altman.
Tell me about working with Mark. I've had him on the show before, and I like his output, and I like Pandora. I think it's a fun sci-fi show.
Mark is very, very dear to my heart. He and I met on a panel at Atlanta Comic-Con, because I was thanking the publisher of the magazine who included my drawing that was approved by George Lucas of the double-bladed lightsaber. that no one had ever seen. It, once George approved it, then it became canon, and they gave Mark Sci-Fi Universe the rights to publish it. And because he published it, it's indisputable. It came out, years before the movie, 6 years before Darth Maul used it. And so I was thinking, I didn't know Mark was the publisher of Sci-Fi Universe. And so we're on a panel together, and I'm like, so this great guy, Sci-Fi Universe magazine, I have him to thank. And he's like, that's me. I'm Mark Holman. That's my magazine. And I'm all, thank you. So it was this wonderful reunion or, meeting. And we became fast friends from there. And so we've been, I've been on Starship SmackDown many years. I've been honored to be a part of that. Amazing.
Sure, at San Diego when you guys get together and it's like, all right, which is better, the Galactica or the Enterprise or whatever?
Great comic ensemble. I'm like the Reggie Jackson of that team, right? I strike out a lot, but when I need to, I'll hit a home run. When we really need a home run, I can get one. A lot of the time, though, I'm batting 2-something.
And another mutual friend of ours, Rob Burnett, part of that group of guys.
That's right. No, Rob and I have had great times on that panel for many, many times. Excuse me, I missed it the last couple because of all the madness that's been happening. But so Pandora. Mark knows that I have been directing and said, hey, you want a shot? I had a director drop out. Do you want an episode? And I said yes. I didn't hesitate. And he said, well, listen, I got to tell you something. Before you say yes, I want you to know, I got to give you a full disclosure here. You're going to do episode 3. And that's the episode where the CW executives are going to be on set. So this is going to be your first ever network television. And you're going to have executives on set. Can you handle it? And I was like, got it. No problem. 1,000%. Yes, yes, yes. Did not hesitate. And he's like, okay. And I did. I had a great time. I prepared like crazy. I spoke to my dear friend, Jennifer Webley, producer, USC Film School. Emmy nominee for some VR that she did for NBC last year for the Olympics. And I was like, help me. I was like, teach me, teach me, sensei. So she took me through how to break down a scene. And I had directed a couple of short films with Jennifer. And so this was network TV, right? So this was, this was full on.
Yeah.
And so it was fantastic. It was a great experience. The first one I was so well prepared for that I was immediately given a second unit, which is awesome. So I was supposed to be there for a couple weeks to direct one episode, and then it went really well. And good old Mark gave me a second unit, so I took a second unit around Sophia, and we shot a bunch of stuff, finding as many futuristic buildings as we could, to try to make Sofia, Bulgaria look futuristic. And we did it. We did a pretty good job. There's a few in there, and then I was given a second episode, which is fantastic because I got to work with Ben Cross, the late great Ben Cross,
yes.
That was really cool. Directing Ben Cross was fantastic. This is a bit of a side thing here, but I gotta say this: Ben Cross had a reputation as being difficult to work with. He was a jerk, blah blah blah. You know what? That was all BS. He was an angel. He was an artist. He was collaborative. He was fantastic. I can see why some people would be rubbed the wrong way by his approach, because his approach is very collaborative. And if you have an ego thing and you don't want people stepping on your toes, then you're going to be like, hey, man, I'm the director. You're the actor. Listen to me. Then I could see it happening. But I'm like, it's all about the show. The best idea wins. What do you want to bring to it? I want all my collaborators to invest in the greatness of this thing, right? That's how great stuff happens. So we had a wonderful time. And I'm so glad I got to work with him before he passed.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've been a fan since Chariots of Fire, but
yeah, right.
Did a great job as Sarek, what they gave him to do, and the JJ.
Totally.
So yeah, I can appreciate that. And my only complaint, and he had nothing to do with it, was they tried to revive Dark Shadows and they cut Angel as a consequence, and it's like, oh man, it's like I loved Angel. Angel was a great show, man.
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed. How many days of shooting and whatever, and also, does the director follow after you're done shooting? Are you involved in post, getting the episode involved in writing it? So how many days did it take for your episodes?
So TV episodes all vary, right? Something like a big show like Homeland is going to be like an 11-day shoot. Something like CW, it's 5 to 7 days for an episode.
Yeah.
And you're going fast. You're doing 10 pages a day, 12 pages a day, which is really, really fast. And you're getting you're hustling. And that's why prep is so important. I also got to shadow, for the first 2 episodes, I got to shadow the pilot director, and episode 2, the great Steve Hughes, a wonderful, generous director who did a lot of British television. including one of my favorite shows, Miss Scarlet and the Duke, which which is a great show for those who like period dramas. Totally love that show, and Steve's all over it.
Excellent.
And so I got to learn a lot from him. And so yeah, you got your prep is everything, right? Prep is everything. Your meetings with your leads. Now, the wonderful thing about being able to draw is a picture says 1,000 words, right? So I draw the costume, I draw the patch, I draw the prop, I draw the gun. On my second episode, in fact, I wanted to have a special gun for this new bad guy I was working with, and I asked Mark if I could. I sent him a design. I was like, "Hey, what do you think of this design?" And Mark was like, "Yeah, approved instantly." And I was like, "Cool," because you know what this is? It's a printer cartridge with a pistol grip glued underneath. Old Star Wars style, just like prop shop,
Sure, man. Or salt shakers for Dr. McCoy in Star Trek. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Kit bash, man. And so that was good fun. And then so you shoot it. Great DP on that show, Max. Oh no, Max.
Happens to all of us, Chris. Don't sweat it, man.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have it in my fingertips, right?
He's a wonderful, wonderful DP.
It'll come.
Star of the show. Yeah, and he AFI guy, great DP.
Sure.
And so then post you sit down. I got to sit down with Dana Gabarin, which was fantastic editor back in LA. That was back in LA.
Yeah.
Took a whole day and just went over it and excuse me, had a wonderful time.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so you get about a week to prep, and
you're gonna look it up, attaboy.
I am, man. I'm looking.
And no, God bless you. I appreciate you doing it. And as you're talking too, shooting in Bulgaria, because a lot of it is being done there, and I think that's really interesting. And it's funny you mentioned the Ark, the game you worked on, but I know The Ark, a Sci-Fi Channel show that's only had one season, was shot in Bulgaria, and also not only from a production standpoint, but a lot of the actors were clearly Eastern European actors as well. Yeah. And I really thought it was interesting that, clearly, obviously, things are still running in Bulgaria and stuff. But yeah, was that an advantage? Like, did you find things, like you said, like you went to around Sofia looking for futuristic kind of, possibilities as far as the landscape and the buildings and such. So yeah, I don't know again if that was, because you mentioned period pieces and stuff, and certainly Bulgaria still has its castles, and it's easier to do a period piece necessarily than a futuristic piece.
Yeah, it was Sofia was a fascinating thing. I had never been to Eastern Europe, and it was really, really something. It's a whole different way of Max Schmiga. Max Schmiga.
Okay. There you go.
I've been sick. I've got a cold, as you can tell. I'm coughing.
Well, I'm blowing my nose when we're not talking. Don't sweat it, Chris.
Right on. And so
Max Schmiga, that's awesome. Yeah, Sofia as a city to shoot in.
You know what's cool about Sofia? You get in the elevator and there's Sylvester Stallone working on something.
Sure.
It's all one elevator, right? It's all one hotel.
Is that a studio or a complex?
So there's two. There's Bufo, which is where we were, and then there's another one. Both are the other one's the ex-Soviet one. And,
wow.
But yeah, basically there's one main 5-star hotel with a fantastic restaurant at the top, which you totally, if you ever want to feel like a Russian oligarch, go to have dinner at this. Man, I'm telling you, tablecloths. They bring you fresh lemon juice. Like, they're treating you like, please don't kill me. It was totally, I was like, I'm like an oligarch. Beautiful view of Sofia out the window, top floor of that hotel. Great, great service, great food. And my God, by the end of it, they just keep bringing the food. It's like a multi-course kind of a thing. Man, it was awesome. But yeah, but there's like, everybody, you get in the elevator and you hear other people talking about, oh, we got to get the C-stands and remember the camera and blah, blah, blah. When does they get in? And you're, hey, what show are you guys on? Right. So it was super fun. It was like Comic-Con, except for you're all making shows and you're all making shows in places. And so, yeah, it was a good time.
Like Vancouver in Canada and all the production that happens in Vancouver. No, it's really interesting to hear that. And again, The Ark in particular just, to me, stood out as this Bulgarian production. And it's like, wow, look top to bottom, all these Bulgarian people or other Eastern European people that are involved in this. I'm like, this is great, and it shows. And also, I think the Academy finally recognizes, and I'm really glad that they have expanded the international product, and that it gets nominated for Best Picture, and it isn't just Best International Film. And it's like, oh, there's so much great stuff, as you say too. The short subjects that are being made. Do you? I don't know. Worry's not the right word, but it does seem like the younger generation is geared towards TikTok, Instagram video, YouTube video. In fact, I just read an article today about how YouTube in general is kind of beating network TV and a lot of evening primetime fare for eyeballs. Hey, how you doing, everybody? That's what we're doing tonight. I mean, we're competing with whatever networks are throwing up there. So
one of my favorite new shows is this dating game on Instagram. It's not a dating game. It's like this little 30. It's like a 30 seconds or a minute. It's this comedian named Steph, and she talks to these people. It's called Hot and Single, and she's like, Hot and Single, the show where we find out if the problem is you. And and it's really funny, and I'm like, damn, this is a show on Instagram. It's a show. It's really, really fun. It reminds me of like Blind Date or Fifth Wheel.
Sure,
those syndicated shows.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, it's got the great little pop-ups and the great fun little editing and the great stabs of hilarity and just good stuff. And I'm like, I am watching a show on Instagram, and it's about a minute long. So, again, we're going to go to where we're going to go, and people are they're Webtoon, millions and millions of people. Millions of kids are looking at even the most popular Webtoon is millions of people watching it. And it's what I love about Webtoon also is the romance. There's something really fun about Webtoon is because I don't know if it's the form or the demographic or what, but I love the fact that there's so much romance in those stories. I think that's something that we could really, really use a lot of. There's no way any of us could possibly ever count how many bullets we've seen fired from a gun, right? In our entertainment, how many punches and fists have impacted, right? We've seen so much punches and kicks and bullets, but very few kisses, like really romantic, kisses. And so that's one of the things I like about Webtoon. And one of the things I like about, again, there's that Instagram show, right? I'm kind of into right now human stories and people trying to get through things together.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Well, Hush, the great through line was the Batman Catwoman a relationship.
Right. Exactly. We need more of that. I'm totally into more exploration of like people being people. Yes. And that's when Marvel's at its best, that's what that's what's happening, right?
Yes.
For
Hawkeye and Mockingbird.
Oh my gosh.
God, that moment in Secret Invasion when you find out that Mockingbird, who Clint finally, patched things up, and she turns around and she's like, Clint, why are you looking at me like that? And she's a sleeper scroll and she doesn't even realize it.
Yeah.
It's just like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, it's just heartbreaking. Or even from a guy, and I don't mean any like, listen, I'm so, and forgive me everybody, because this is going to sound so pandering, but I'm fine with gay relationships, but I also want the bromance of two guys that are just really, really great friends. And as much as I appreciate the people that ship Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, that moment in Winter Soldier when he realizes it's Bucky, and it just the vision. I think it was Epting that drew it, but you just see it on Captain America's face that it's just like, shit, it's my best friend. And he doesn't remember me, and he's trying to kill me. And it's just like, oh man, poor Steve, man. Good Lord.
That's great stuff.
So yeah, it's and that's like one of my favorite moments in the Winter Soldier movie when before Steve's a super soldier, and Bucky's like, hey man, you lost your mom. Stay with me. He goes, we'll put the cushions down like we did when we were kids. Come on, man. How many guy friends are like just having a good hangout and stuff on a Friday night or a Saturday night? And you're sleeping in a friend's living room or whatever. And it's like, yeah, man. So no, I hear you. It is those human emotions that I think make the stories that much richer.
They really do.
Yeah.
I love the latest. And that's going to be a part of getting back to Saturday, the 18th, Ackerman Hall, UCLA. We're going to be, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about what do you want? We want to know. We want to help you guys tell the stories you want to tell. And there's going to be 7 hours, right? 7 hours free lunch, walk-ins possible. If you want to walk in, just
Right.
show
If
up.
you haven't signed up for it yet, there are tickets available still.
That's right.
So, and again, this is, you're learning from three guys that really understand the medium. And I'm really glad that there is a review portion of the day too, because if hey, if you're working on your book and you want these tips specifically for the thing you're working on, of course, bring it. And of course, get feedback from these three guys that really understand storytelling.
That's right. Bring your portfolio. Thank you for bringing that back to that, John. Yes, bring your portfolios, bring your scripts, bring stuff in to show, and we'll look at it, because this is really, this is historical, right? Chaikin and Wade, UCLA, this is a historical moment in this medium. And you should be there, even if you're just a fan of the medium, and you're like, no, I'm cool. I just like reading the stories. You should come, because there's going to be things said there that are never going to be said again. It's just, it's really, really a cool thing.
Did you ever witness a chalk talk where an artist is kind of breaking things down? Because I know DC and Marvel used to do that on a regular basis. Klaus Janson, Howard himself, others. Brian did it for writing. Bendis.
And this is why, that stuff is this is a resurgence of that, Those chalk talks were really important. It's really important to pass this stuff down. No one can know it, no one can learn it if the older people aren't sharing it. And so, this is absolutely right up there, like chalk talks. It's going to be a super cool, super productive, super valuable day for everyone involved.
That sounds great. Comic Book U, everybody. UCLA, Ackerman Hall, this Saturday. Again, walk-ins are welcome if you haven't registered already. But it's going to be great. And it's Mark Waid, Howard Chaikin, and Chris Gossett. So you could be in worse hands. I think the three of you guys are really going to bring it and really help a lot of people out that are taking advantage of the course and making their comics better. Why not? We're all for it. So, Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Always. Yeah, likewise, man. Please stay in touch.
Yeah,
and when there's something new, let's see if okay. So people are just saying hello. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, HR.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, this was terrific. I knew it would be, and I'm always happy to talk to you, Chris. So please come back sooner than later, and we'll do something new.
Heck yeah, looking forward to it.
Excellent. Everybody, thanks for watching. Tomorrow night, Chris Iliopoulos is joining me, who's been doing great work with Brad Meltzer on the I Am children's biographies. They just released I Am Fred Rogers, and they were both at the White House recently. What was that like? We'll find out from Chris tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.